The federal government has been banned from keeping a national gun registry since 1986. They built one anyway, and right now the ATF is sitting on what congressional investigators believe is 1.1 billion digitized firearm transaction records. Your name, your address, the gun you bought, linked together and stored in a federal facility in Martinsburg, West Virginia. 27 members of Congress demanded answers in writing with a legal deadline. The ATF said nothing for over 290 days. That isn't a clerical delay. That's an agency that believes it doesn't have to answer to the people's elected representatives. And if they're willing to stonewall Congress, what exactly do you think they're doing with that list? Stay with me, because this is documented, it's sourced, and it should make every gun owner in America absolutely furious. Now I know what you're thinking. Washington problem, politicians posturing, it doesn't touch my life. The thing is, it already has. Every time you legally purchase a firearm through a licensed dealer, you filled out ATF Form 4473, your legal name, your current address, the manufacturer, model, and serial number of the gun you were buying. All of it tied together on a single document. That form is supposed to live at the dealer, not with the federal government. But when a dealer goes out of business, federal law requires every 4473 they ever processed to transfer directly to the ATF. Here's where it got dangerous. For 38 years, dealers could destroy forms that were older than 20 years. That protection existed under Democrat and Republican presidents alike. The Biden administration completely eliminated it in 2022. Every form, every gun, every buyer, retained forever. And when it lands at the ATF, it gets digitized. At the same time, the ATF launched a zero-tolerance audit campaign. Minor paperwork errors that once earned warnings now triggered license revocations. So small dealers closed. Their records transferred to, you guessed it, the ATF. The machine fed itself. The ATF says that database cannot be searched by name. But here's the word they're using, disabled. Not deleted, disabled. That's a software setting. Any future administration can flip it without passing a single law. The infrastructure for a gun owner registry isn't coming. It's already built. And your transaction is likely in it. If you're new here and this is the first time you're hearing this, hit subscribe. This is exactly the kind of story the mainstream media won't touch, but we cover it every single week and you don't want to miss what's coming up. The concern isn't what this administration does with that list. It's what the next one will do. Before we get to what they actually built and how they did it while breaking federal law, you need to hear the argument that they're making, because it actually sounds reasonable on the surface. And that's precisely what makes it so effective. The ATF's official position is simple. These records exist to trace crime guns. When a firearm is recovered at a crime scene, investigators trace it, from manufacturer to distributor to dealer to first buyer. If that dealer is closed, the records have to live somewhere. The ATF is that somewhere. The strongest version of that argument goes like this. Criminals don't stop being criminals because a gun shop shut down. Without these records, cold cases go colder, families don't get justice, and criminals walk. Gun tracing does solve real crimes. The Congressional Research Service confirms these records are instrumental for firearms tracing. That's not nothing. Here's where it falls apart though. The 20-year destruction rule was not a careless policy. It was calibrated to the data. The average time to crime, which is the gap between a firearm's last legal sale and its recovery at a crime scene, almost never exceeds 20 years. Records past that threshold have nearly zero active law enforcement value. 4 administrations from both parties kept that rule in place for nearly 4 decades because the evidence supported it. In 2022, that rule change didn't improve crime solving. It just guaranteed that every gun sale record going back decades from every dealer that ever closes flows permanently into federal hands. So why does the ATF need a 35-year-old Form 4473 to solve a crime committed today? The answer is it doesn't, which means this database isn't about solving crimes. It's about something else. So let's look at exactly what the evidence shows. Congress has banned a federal gun registry 4 separate times in federal statute. The Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986, signed by Ronald Reagan and codified it at 18 U.S.C. 926, Section A, Paragraph 3. No department, no agency, no federal employee may transfer firearm transaction records to a government-controlled facility or use them to build any system of registration of firearms, firearm owners, or firearm transactions. No exceptions. No carve-outs for tracing. That prohibition is categorical. The Brady Act layered on a second prohibition in 1993. The NICS background check records can't be used for registration. Congressional appropriations bills have reinforced these walls multiple times since then. The law has been rebuilt and reinforced for 40 years, and the ATF walked straight through it. In April 2022, the Biden administration finalized ATF Final Rule 2021 R-05F. Buried inside a broader rulemaking on ghost guns was a single devastating provision. FFLs must retain all Form 4473 records for the entirety of their licensed activity and transfer every last one to the ATF when they close. A federal district court in Texas flagged this directly. The rule noted that by requiring FFLs to never destroy records, the ATF effectively ensures that all such records eventually will be transferred to the ATF out of Business Records Center, a facility owned, managed, and controlled by the United States, and that this arguably violates Section 926A3 directly. That's a federal judge, not a blogger, not a talking head. Simultaneously, the ATF's zero-tolerance enforcement policy turned minor paperwork errors into mandatory revocations. Independent dealers, family shops, veteran-owned FFLs, rural community staples closed for clerical technicalities. Every closure fed the pipeline. In 2021, Gun Owners of America obtained internal ATF documents revealing the agency was processing over 54.7 million out-of-business records every year. Not over its entire history, per year. The official congressional letter sent February 3, 2026, signed by Representative Michael Cloud and 26 colleagues, confirmed the ATF already held 920,664,765 gun registration records, digitized, indexed, searchable by serial number, firearm type, and transaction date. At 50 million records added per year, the total is now likely past 1.1 billion. There are 330 million people in the United States. This database may hold multiple records on a significant share of the adult population. This isn't a filing cabinet. It's a digital infrastructure built in direct defiance of federal law. Congress first sent a formal written inquiry to the ATF on February 14, 2025, and they got no response. After 290 days of silence, Representative Cloud sent a follow-up demanding a reply by February 10th of this year. As of today, Congress is still waiting. This is under a Republican-controlled Congress, under an administration that signed an executive order in February of 25, specifically directing the elimination of Second Amendment infringements. The order exists. The database exists. The silence continues. Representative Cloud put it plainly, your continued refusal to provide basic information raises serious questions about whether the ATF remains in compliance with a federal statute and the Second and 14th Amendments. When an agency breaks the law, builds what it built, and refuses to account for it to Congress, silence is their answer. And the answer should alarm every single person watching this video. Here's the filter most commentators are afraid to apply. And it's the one that matters the most, so I'm going to. Let's be direct. This isn't a Democrat-only problem. This database grew under Obama. It grew under Trump's first term. It exploded under Biden, and it's still growing today. No party gets a clean record here. Any analysis that stops at Biden did this is doing you a disservice. The 2022 rule change was not a law. No vote, no debate, no elected representative put their name on it. An unelected regulatory agency rewrote 40 years of policy through a final rule attached to a separate rulemaking to minimize scrutiny. That is the administrative state operating exactly as designed. Power without accountability. Frederick Hayek identified this pattern precisely. When unelected bodies accumulate rulemaking authority, liberty contracts every single time, without exception. The right being violated is not only the Second Amendment, it's the Fourth. The right to be left alone by your government when you've done nothing wrong. You're not a prohibited person. You're a law-abiding citizen. You committed no crime. You exercise a constitutional right, and the federal government built a file on you anyway. The zero-tolerance audit policy compounded this by crushing independent dealers, vet-owned shops, family businesses, rural community FFLs through regulatory attrition. Only the largest dealers survive that kind of compliance pressure. Small operations close, and their records get transferred. This isn't public safety. This is a consolidation of sensitive data through bureaucratic force. The government doesn't need to ban your guns to control gun owners. It only needs to know exactly who has them and where they live and how many they have. The list is already built. The question is, what happens next? 3 scenarios. None of them require a conspiracy. All of them follow directly from what already exists. 1. The database keeps growing. Without the No REGISTRY Rights Act passing, 50 million records are added each and every year. By 2028, this system holds records covering the majority of legal gun transactions in American history. The bill exists. It hasn't moved. Every day that it stalls, the database becomes harder to unwind. 2. AI changes the math. The federal government is integrating artificial intelligence across agencies right now. There are no explicit statutory carve-outs protecting firearms transaction data from those systems. The name search function being disabled becomes irrelevant the moment this data is queryable through a broader federal AI platform. You don't search by name, you query every gun owner within 5 miles of a specific location. That capability exists today. And 3, someone flips the switch. No new law required, no court ruling, one administrative directive re-enables name search on OBRIS. The next administration hostile to the Second Amendment inherits over 1 billion records, fully digitized and ready to use. The legal barriers that were supposed to prevent this were bypassed in the building of it. What makes you confident they stopped the next step? If the precedent holds that building a prohibited registry carries no consequences, the framework to use it is already in place. The trap is set. The timeline is political, not technical. So what do you actually do about it? You are not powerless. That's the good news. Here's what works. Make 1 phone call this week. Don't send an email, you need to call. Call your representative's district office, your senator's office. Tell the staffer who answers you want your representative to co-sponsor the No REGISTRY Rights Act, introduced by Representative Michael Cloud and Senator Jim Risch. Ask if they've signed on. If not, ask why. That call, multiplied across thousands of gun owners, is exactly what moves a bill out of committee. Back the organizations doing the actual work. Gun Owners of America obtained the leaked internal ATF documents that blew this wide open. That takes resources. Know who is fighting this in court and in Congress and support them accordingly. And tell one person, not a crowd, just one person who still thinks that this is a theory. Show them the congressional letter. Show them the federal statute. Show them 920 million records and an agency that won't explain them. The source documents make the argument better than any commentary can. And if this video gave you something you didn't have before, please share it. One share to one person who needs to hear it is worth more than 1,000 passive views. And if you want this kind of sourced, straight analysis every week, make sure you subscribe. That button matters more than you think, and we have so much coming down the pipe. It's how this work reaches people the algorithm would rather ignore. The Second Amendment was never about hunting. It was a permanent, structural check on government power. The founders understood that a disarmed population is a controllable one. A registered population is already halfway there. I'll see you next time. Bye.